Hey guys, I'm Jackie Brubaker. I'm an author, producer, 2-time Emmy Award winner, and host of That Girl the Podcast. Each week, I bring on inspiring people and stories to help you become that girl or that guy in your life. That Girl the Podcast is based on the romantic comedy That Girl a Novel, which is now available as a podcast to listen to. Listen to each chapter about finding yourself and adulting in LA. Find That Girl a Novel everywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can also find it on Amazon to buy the Kindle or paperback of. For more, find us at thatgirlthepodcast.com and follow us on Instagram at thatgirlthepodcast and our Patreon page. Welcome, Sara Totten, back to That Girl the Podcast.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too, my dear. We are going to talk about emotionally unavailable people.
Yes.
And how to spot them, what to do if you are dealing with one, and also how not to be one, right? You know, or at least try, be like aware that like, oh, hey, I'm emotionally unavailable. Like maybe I need time for myself. So
yeah,
this is a topic. This is, in my opinion, this is exactly why people are having bad relationships. They're breaking up with otherwise good people that they think are good people, but you know, it always comes back to like old wounding that has not been dealt with.
Absolutely.
So in your experience with, God, it's hard to say, emotionally unavailable people, I'll just let you start. Yeah.
I mean, I think we've briefly kind of touched on it before in like our other episodes that we've done together. I think it's a really tricky situation, really, because it obviously depends what side of the coin you're on, right? Mm-hmm. I personally have been unavailable myself. I like to think that I've handled it in a good way and been honest with people and said kind of where my head's at and where I stand. Some people, obviously, again, that I've experienced, I'm sure you have as well, haven't been so honest, and you kind of get dragged along this journey, not really knowing what's going on, where you stand, what you are. And I think, you know, and I know, I mean, honestly, I can't, if I had £1 or $1 for every time I said this, I would be rich, is that it's just all about communication. And I think you could avoid so many situations if you were just honest. And I think with unavailable people and emotionally unavailable people, it obviously is going to depend, you know, drastically how unavailable they are, why they feel that way. So obviously it's not going to be a one size fits all. And, you know, somebody who you've maybe just started dating and you start applying them questions like, oh, you know, why aren't you texting me? Why aren't you available? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you that? It's, you know, potentially going to be triggering for them. It's going to bring up, you know, past demons or things that they're trying to deal with themselves. So I think it's a tricky road, I think, to travel, because it can vary so much as to why that person is feeling or doing the things that they're doing.
Right. Well, also, you know, I do believe that if you are attracting unavailable people, you yourself are probably unavailable too, because, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I have always loved love. I want love, you know, I want to be in a relationship, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But when you finally do realize, how come everyone I'm dating is unavailable, or like, you know, or I keep finding myself in like, you know, affairs or situationships or, you know, relationships that the person just isn't giving as much. What I learned, and I do think this is a huge, huge thing to look at with yourself, if you are noticing these patterns, is, are you emotionally unavailable? And you might not think you are, but what you're doing is you're actively choosing people who are not going to give you what you need. So there's always a distance. And that's what being emotionally unavailable really is all about, is creating distance with you.
Yeah, and like a divide. Yeah.
Right. And not creating true intimacy and true vulnerability. So you can be having these fun, you know, fantasy kind of a relationship, but you're not really connecting deeply.
Yeah.
Or you could connect deeply with somebody, but never, really let them into your life or into your mind, like you could open them all up and then be like, cool, thanks for telling me all of that. But like, I'm never going to tell you about me or really, really let you in. So, I mean, it's being emotionally unavailable is a very faceted sort of thing. So let's just touch on things that I think are pretty common when people are kind of dealing with it, which is like, they never text me back, or they do, but
common theme.
Right? Common theme, like common problem. They never text me back, or it takes days or hours or weeks to get a phone call or a text or set up a plan, right? Or like they're constantly like breaking plans on you. This is pure emotional unavailability right now. And I would say to that person, if this is happening to you, look at the person you're choosing. Are they available to other people? Are they?
Yeah.
Maybe they're are available to other people in friendships or work situations, but like romantically, they're always kind of on the prowl or they're always dating. They're clearly not ready for, something more serious. And while they might seem really intriguing to you, is it worth it? Because it's not real, you're in a fantasy that you're making with a real person.
I think as well, it's important to know what you're also looking for. So at the end of the day, if you're with somebody who is being like that, they're not replying to messages, they're bailing on you, they're maybe not arranging to meet up, and it's kind of feeling like quite a one-sided relationship or whatever it might be, you need to decide what you're willing to put up with. I think, like I said, emotional unavailability can stem from a number of different things. And if that person isn't willing to kind of open up to you or let you know like where they stand and say, look, I really like you, but I'm just dealing with a few things right now. If you can bear with me, I'd really like to see where this goes. But if they're not being like that, it's for you really to decide like, what you want to do. Like, are you happy to kind of go along with this, knowing that this person is maybe going to be a little bit flippant and, not very flexible. They're not going to maybe want to see you as much as you want to see them. If you're feeling like it's quite a one-sided thing, if you're happy with that, because you might maybe be in a similar situation, like you said, then that's fine. As long as it works for both sides, that's no problem at all. But I feel like when it starts becoming an issue and it's really affecting you and how you feel like the relationship can move forward, that's when it obviously starts to become an issue, right? And if that other person isn't willing to kind of meet you in the middle, then it's not going to work. So it really varies from person to person, obviously relationship to relationship and situation to situation, as to how you kind of want to deal with it and what you're willing to put up with.
Right. I think too that, and I'll just say women, but men as well, very much so, we idealize people. We look at them and see all the good and see all the great that they're doing. But again, when it comes down to intimacy and emotional availability, they might just not be around for it. They might not have the kind of maturity that maybe you're seeing in their work life or their friendship life or whatever it is that you're looking at that's like amazing. Because I know that was a huge thing in the past for me, which is like, oh no, I see what a great guy he is. He's such a good guy, but like he's just going through stuff right now. No, he might be, but most likely, and actually a guy friend of mine said this to me once, and this was brilliant. He was like, when I met my wife, I forget, one of his parents was like dying. Oh, and he was like, I met my wife and I very much could have chosen to have not pursued something with her because I'm going through this incredibly dramatic time in my life.
Yeah.
But I did because she was amazing. And so I think that speaks volumes of like, it doesn't matter if a person is going through something big in their life. If they have the emotional maturity to recognize that this is a good match for them, they will show up because they'll want you there.
Absolutely.
They'll want you close. They'll want to create that bond, especially during a really tough time. I mean, the pandemic is a really good example of like people,
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
it was like cuffing season, right? Like we're all just like together, and like if it wasn't working, it was never going to work. Cause if it didn't work during the pandemic, trust me, like you're never going to make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, I think that's a really big thing to remember is like, stop giving people excuses for
Oh my God, yeah.
why they're not showing up for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be empathetic all day long.
Totally.
Like, they're not going to do that for you because they're not even showing up. They're not responding to you. They're not calling you, and they're breaking plans. That person doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And maybe
and
not
it is,
for anybody.
I think it's as simple as that, to be honest. It is, we've spoken about it before with like other things, with sort of the whole breadcrumbing thing and all these, different phenomenons that are, dating phenomenons that are coming out. Is it, at the end of the day, if somebody likes you, they'll text you, they'll call you, they'll want to see you, they'll take you out, they'll, get you to meet their family, their friends. Like it's, for me, I know sometimes it's not always as black and white and as that, but I think it's very similar to, like diet culture. It's like, oh, I can't lose weight, I don't know why. Stop eating and do exercise. Like it's, if you want to lose weight,
right.
Don't eat as many, be in a calorie deficit and, go for a walk. Like it's quite, do you know what I mean? Like it should be as simple as that. And it's the same with dating. If they like you, they'll show you. You won't even need to question it. So it just like, but it is obviously going to be, like I said, if somebody is maybe not showing you the attention that you want, but then if you're in a similar situation and you want something quite casual, then, it can work for both sides if that's what you both want. But obviously if somebody is looking to pursue something more serious and it's not being reciprocated, that's obviously when it's, becomes an issue and when you genuinely have to walk away.
Right. I mean, it's like that really old movie or the book, like He's Just Not That Into You. There's this one scene where she's like, well, who am I supposed to go out with if like nobody's good enough for me? And he's like, nobody. You're not supposed to go out with any of these losers. Like if they're not giving you what you need, if they're not showing up and doing what you, deserve, like, no, stay home, like keep looking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
It's so simple. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially when you feel like a spark with someone and they have, all the qualities that you're looking for and they just seem like the diamond in the rough. You're just like, oh no, I'm going to let this thing go. I'm going to work hard for this. Like I'm going to be patient. You're going to do all the things for someone who isn't doing a fraction of that for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it comes down to the fact that I think we've all potentially been in a situation where we've been with somebody or dating somebody who we think we can change. And you think like, oh, I'm the one, he's going to change for me. I'm the one that can like pull him out of this. I'm the one that can get him to make the effort. I'm the one that's going to be able to do all these things. And it is like, it's that game almost. It's that challenge that you want that I think everyone kind of enjoys the rush of. But sometimes you can't change them because they don't want to be changed and they don't feel like they need to change.
Right.
And, should it be your responsibility? Should you even need to change them? Like it's, you should meet somebody who is the person that you want to be with. You're the person they want to be with. And then you skip off into the sunset happily ever after. But obviously
that's how it works.
The fact that we've done so many episodes and can continue to do so many episodes on like all these different topics around dating and relationships, it obviously isn't that simple.
It's not that simple. No skipping yet, but close. Yeah, no, I mean, it really is just about, I always say it comes back to your self-worth, right? If your self-worth is high
100%.
and you are loving yourself and you are truly, truly giving a shit about yourself, you'll be repulsed by people who aren't giving you the attention that you deserve. You literally like push them away and they won't even come into your orbit. Because I do believe that we have, energy fields. And when people feel that, I swear to God, I watch people literally back up from me or just like move away because they're like, ooh, you trigger me in places that I don't want to deal with. So I'm not gonna.
Yeah. And it is, it's just all about that, isn't it? Like it is literally, if you know what you are, what you're worth and what you want and what you deserve, then, it will come to you. It might not come to you the next day or the day after that or the day after that, but eventually it will. And you'll think, you know what, I'm so glad that I waited for this point because this person is giving me everything that I want, everything that I deserve. And you won't even think about all the other people that kind of have led you on this sort of, you know, down this dead end path, because, you know, they won't mean anything.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, like, what if you're, you know, I'm just thinking of like people who are like really going through this right now and they're like, but I love him, you know, they're just really stuck on someone. And, you know, in my head, again, it always goes back to like, you're creating a fantasy of who this person is by what you have seen of them, whether it's you guys together, whether it's you're watching them from, you know, in their life, whatever it is, like you're assuming that this person, and they could be these things, right? But they are not those things to you. And so thus that person that you're fantasizing over isn't really the person that you're interacting with, because if they aren't showing you and showing up like this version that you created in your head, that's the really, I think that's the really painful part of it, is that, yeah, but they're such a good person. Why aren't they good to me? And again, that goes right back to the like, they are not emotionally available. They have old wounds they've never healed. They have, you know, stuff that they don't want to look at. They don't want to get close to someone because maybe they've been really hurt and they're just not ready to do it again. You know, they might never be ready to do it. I mean, there are people who stay single for the rest of their lives because it is terrifying to have intimacy and to be vulnerable. I mean, it's the bravest thing to do, to be in a real relationship where you are truly like, hey, this is what's up. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I need from you. That's the other thing too. A lot of people just don't ask for what they need in their relationships. And so, you know, that's a whole other conversation, but like you need to be like so in your worth that you aren't afraid to say the stuff that you need to say and, you know, work the stuff out. But if that person just keeps not showing up, let's talk about like if you're in a relationship with someone and, you know, you're evolving and they're not, or maybe you're starting to see like how emotionally unavailable they are. And you're like, how come we're not connecting more? How come we're not evolving as a couple? And they don't want to work on stuff. Again, that's just like, that's really hard to be like, I don't think we're moving in the same direction. And I want you to, I want to help you. I want to like be your partner. But again, there's only so much you can do on your end. And that's hard to
100%. Yeah, it really is difficult. And I think what's important, I think with what you just said then as well, with, you know, why are some people more available to other people than they might be being to you? I think it's really important that you don't let, it's easier said than done, but don't let that affect your self-worth. Don't let it like make you think, well, if they're being like this to other people, but not me, am I doing something wrong? Is it something that I've done, something I've said, something I'm doing, something I need to change? You know, don't turn it back. It's so easy, I think, in these situations. I think sometimes with some people who can be slightly manipulative as well, where they also can make you think that you're doing something wrong. And it's like quite a sort of like almost like emotional abuse, I suppose. You just need to realize that it will have nothing to do with you unless they've actually said, and I mean, you know, you might want to say like, look, am I doing something wrong? Just so you can just know that it might be something that you've said or whatever. But I do think it's important to realize that, you know, these people, unfortunately, as hard as it might be to realize it, is that you're probably not even coming into their minds and that they're not thinking about you in any way, shape or form. So their issues and their reasoning for not getting in touch with you has nothing to do with you as a person, how you are, who you are, what you look like, what you do. So I think it's, you know, important to just kind of remind yourself of that, is that it's in the most part, it's not going to be you, and not to let it affect your self-worth and your self-esteem and your confidence, because I think that can really trigger a lot of things, and you then end up taking that with you into your next relationship or into like your life. I think it can really have a big effect.
I always think about this one relationship in my 20s that I was just like, oh no, he's the one. And it's so interesting, like the older I get, the more, you know, when I look at what happened, because it went on for years, just recently I was just thinking like, you know, again, I wasn't showing up as my, you know, strongest self. I was definitely showing up as like, what can I do to make this better? And that kind of a person, and then they weren't really giving anything. But I think about the person that he did end up with was, I assume, I mean, I don't know her personally, but like she seems like this very strong, confident woman.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is that I could have just been like, oh, he just needed a really strong, confident woman. But the thing is, in that relationship, he made me question everything I was doing because
Yeah.
he wasn't available. So I
Mhm.
didn't feel safe. So I
Yeah.
did come off as very like insecure and unknowing of like
Needy and yeah,
needy
exactly. And that's the
because
worst thing as well, because especially when you're not that kind of person
yes.
and you realize, I mean, I remember like in a previous relationship and it was somebody who was unavailable. They were going through some things. I tried to help them. It wasn't going anywhere. And I
Mhm.
remember just crying and actually I'm almost embarrassed to admit this because it's just like mortifying, like crying my eyes out in bed next to him, pleading with him not to end things,
Oh
being
my
like,
God.
please don't do this to me. Please. Do you know what I mean? And when I think back at that, I'm just like, oh my God, like I'm embarrassed at that now.
Mhm.
And obviously that's how I felt in that moment. And that's,
Mhm.
what I needed to say. It's what I needed to do. But now I just think like I should have literally walked away from that person and just been like, you know what? I've tried my best here. I've done what I think I needed to do. You're not giving me anything. I just need to, cut ties with this and move on. But in that moment, you just don't see it like that. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. And it's,
Mhm.
it can be really difficult. But I, was like, don't do this to me. Like I'm going to be nothing without you and all this stuff. And it's amazing how it can really take over everything in you. And now, like I would bloody never do that.
Right.
Like I'm
Right.
not gonna, obviously, okay, yeah, you're gonna cry about somebody and you're gonna be upset about certain things. But I think for my self-worth and my self-esteem to be so low at that point, to think that without him in my life, I would be nothing is a really sad state of affairs. Whereas I think, and now I know that obviously it isn't the case because I'm doing absolutely fine now, if not, well, obviously better than fine, I'm all good. But I think, yeah, it's important just not to let that drag you down when you do come up against somebody like that, because it can fuck with you.
And like when I hear that story, like the first thing I think is this guy was, I always go back to wounds, but you had stuff that you had not healed within you that you were looking to him to heal. And maybe he had been.
Yeah.
And it was now the Band-Aids being ripped off. He's taking the medicine away. And you're like, no. I still need you to do, I'm not ready yet. Like I'm not cooked. And so it's not so much about the person as it is what it was that person was doing for you and helping you heal, or just feeling like you were healing. Because all we're really doing is, I mean, if we're really being honest, relationships are all about like healing our parent issues that we have, been through, that we haven't quite fixed. And so we choose partners that are like, ooh, this feels familiar. I think I can fix what my parents did to me through this person, whether we realize it or not. But when it's that, and I've so been there, when you're just crying, panic attack, like, no, God. I mean, it has nothing to do with that person. It has everything to do with your past stuff that you're like, I don't want to heal this on my own. And now you're forcing me to, and I don't want to. And whether you guys, whether you figure it out or not, which clearly you have, but no, I mean, it's really sad, because then, like going back to my previous story, like you do feel like that needy girl, and you do feel like, but that's
absolutely.
not even who I am. Like, and that was so infuriating for me too back in the day.
Exactly.
I was like,
you're just lowering yourself to this, almost like you become like a shell of who you were, because you're almost giving yourself so much to this other person as well, and when you're not getting it in return, you're just kind of like, you're emptying your cup and it's not being refilled. And that's what is really, really difficult to realize. And like I said, looking back on it, I can see that it was happening very much over time. But when you're living it, it's very difficult to realize that at the time.
Right. So, if you're sitting here and you're recognizing like there's stuff that I need to address within myself, like you need to start doing the work on yourself first, right? Like
Absolutely.
no
Yeah.
person's going to come in and make you a better human being. They can make you feel good, but like ultimately, like you have to go start doing that work so that you can choose people who are worthy of you. Again,
Absolutely.
we choose people at the level we're at. So if you're in a broken place and you have stuff that you need to work on, you're going to choose people who are going to probably be around that level. And if they don't choose you back, they might not be at that level and they're rejecting you, or vice
Yeah.
versa. You're at a higher level, you reject them. So it's not always about like, oh, this person's unemotional or emotionally unavailable to me. They're not choosing me. It could, again, it goes back to, are you emotionally available? Have
Yeah.
you done all the work that you need to do? Because again, you can look at this person and be like, they're so fantastic. Why don't they want me? It's time to look at yourself too, you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. And I think, again, I think we've spoken about this before and we've on a number of different episodes, to be honest, whereas you want to be in a place where you're meeting somebody or you're putting yourself out there to meet somebody because you want to have them in your life and not because you need them. And I think, not to get too deep or anything, but I think we still live in a society that expects, I think more so a woman, to be in a relationship so we can get married and have babies and live happily ever after. So I feel like we have this pressure where people then end up feeling like they aren't whole until they have, it's the phrase, I don't know if you use it in the States, but like, my other half. That's what, and I just think that's such a damaging way. And obviously you say it and it just kind of like, because it's just a saying, you don't necessarily mean that, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you do feel like that you aren't a whole person. You're not, acceptable to society unless you have a partner. And I just think it's a really dangerous thing to still be putting out there, because people are going to end up being with people that they don't really want to be. It's going to be, like we said before, like a more of like a situationship rather than it being a proper relationship. And that as well can be, really damaging, because you're going to end up putting up with things like emotionally unavailable people because you just want to say you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or whatever. And it ends up just being quite an unhealthy place to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like you are worth more, even if you don't feel that you are in this moment. You could be in a really bad place, but like you are worth more. And trying to find someone to fill the well is not good when you have the work to do. And then also, choosing someone who you recognize has work to do. They're never going to be able to give you what you actually deserve, and you're not someone's savior. You're not someone's mommy.
Yeah.
You've got to just like keep choosing higher. I'm doing this thing too, where I'm like, I'm going to choose guys that I think are totally out of my league and see where I land. And I keep landing with them. And I'm like, oh, maybe I was just not in the right league. Maybe I needed to go here. And it's great. It's really fun to surprise yourself. So I feel like if you've been choosing guys or girls who are emotionally unavailable, start going for people that you like, not way out of the ballpark, but like choose people that you think, oh, that person would never be into me, and see, maybe they could be, maybe it's the right match.
Well, because that's the thing, right? It's recognizing those patterns as well. And if you are, like you said, constantly going after the same person and it's ending in the same way, and it's, it's really hard to deal with, and you're kind of like going on this like roller coaster of like the same thing over and over and over again, you need to like look inward. You need to realize, actually, okay, maybe this is what I need to do, and branch off in a different direction. And it might work out, it might not. But I think and I think as well, like sometimes I think when we talk about dating and relationships, it can be quite a tough subject and it's a hard thing. And obviously, sometimes it is. I mean, we've all been through it, like it is tricky, but it should also be fun too. Like you don't want to be going on this like emotional roller coaster with somebody when there's not going to be an end point. You're just going to get chucked out somewhere and, land not in a very good place, whether that's with them or personally. And, I just think it's important that you recognize those patterns and do what you can within yourself or personally to make sure that you break those and move into a more positive space.
Absolutely. And don't, if you are kind of addicted to the drama, because that's what I'm hearing right now with like the emotional roller coaster and the people who are like checking you out, like if you have become addicted to the drama, and you feel like you keep needing hits, so you keep like texting the person who's unavailable or whatever just to get a hit, which we're all addicted to with social media these days.
Absolutely, yeah.
you've got to really pull back and be like, whoa, okay, hold on. I see what I'm doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Do I keep doing this because it's fun? Or do I genuinely want to find a relationship with someone who's really going to be there and find a new way of feeling good, a more healthier, happier way of feeling good? But
yeah, absolutely.
I always say people that, relationships are not for the weak. They're for the strong. You've got to be strong in yourself, and then you've got to be strong in a relationship, because it is a whole other person that now you are like working with and loving and being patient and all of the stuff with. Like, people who are not ready for the work, forget it. Just don't even get in a relationship. Just don't.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely. I completely agree.
Right. And if you see that those people are not relationship people, but you're like, but he's so cute or she's so gorgeous, leave them alone and admire them from a distance.
Exactly. Unless, like I said before, if you're in the same boat and you're feeling the same kind of way, then go after whoever the hell you want to go after. As long as you know where it's going to end, then you can still have fun. You can still do what you need to do. It's like, going out drinking. It's going to end in a horrible hangover, but you can still have a good time. You know what I mean? Whereas like if you're going into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to drink 2 bottles of wine and go to work tomorrow and be fine, that's not the case. So as long as you know what the end point is going to be, then it's fine. As long as you're all on the same page, then it's good. But it's when somebody's, trying and the other person's not giving anything, and that's when it gets tricky.
Right. Well, I think this is a good talk. I think there are a lot of good things said here. A lot of information. Tell people how they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram on The Good, the Bad, and the Ghosted, and my podcast is on wherever you find yours.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
I will do. You too. Speak to you soon.
Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. Make sure to rate the podcast and leave a review. We really rely on this to help get the podcast out there. Also, make sure to watch the video version on YouTube at That Girl the Podcast.